If only there was a way for those in power to sort of like control what the people want and how they feel. It's like, I mean, I think someone wrote about this. And nobody's selfish. It's all just good. There's no pain.
That's right.
Man, what's that book called?
Brave.
You guys help me out.
Brave New World.
Yes.
Brave New World.
All right, I was faking that I didn't know what I was talking about, but
yes,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
you didn't? What?
Have some soma.
I fooled you. Yes, have some soma. Click, click.
Click, click.
We should just
Okay, but what's this big deal? You guys keep talking about this. I have no idea why I should be interested in this anymore.
Why should I care?
Why should I care?
Well, so the book was written in 1932, so it was like forever ago, and so there's a new television show out on Peacock, which is a streaming service offered by NBC now, and you can watch like the first 2 episodes for free, and then you pay per month like every other streaming service.
Was it written in the States?
I believe it was.
I believe it was
Aldous Huxley. So
yeah.
So like during the throes of the Great Depression, this book comes out.
You know what? I don't know if. Wow, I'm showing my ignorance here. I don't know if Huxley was American or not.
He was British.
Well, it takes place. Okay, so and then it takes place in New London. So I'm assuming.
It's New London, but it's sort of in the context of Henry Ford and the creation of the automobile and the industrial era. So American history has something to do with it as well. But yeah, I think the setting is more London. In fact, so you have New London, which is a perfect society. It's a utopia. Right. And so everybody's happy. There's no violence. You have, you have access to anything that makes you happy, right? You know your place. There's a caste system that's actually genetically determined.
Nobody has any mothers anymore.
Nobody has any mothers. Monogamy is outlawed. And the ideas of those things are actually considered savage and archaic. And so there is a place called the Savage Lands where you can, now in the book, it's a little bit different. The Savage Lands are basically where Indians live, Native Americans live. And I'm pretty sure it was New Mexico where the Savage Lands were. I'm almost certain that it was.
Yeah. Rolling around in green chilies.
That's right. So at any rate, the idea here that Huxley wanted to convey was that, a dystopia, we usually think of a dystopia as being an absolutely horrible, oppressive sort of place where everybody's depressed and unhappy and, doing things that they don't want to do. And Huxley was like, not so. Like, you could be given everything that you could possibly want and have your place in the world, and that's still a dystopia.
Be convinced you're happy.
So, but the story goes now, the Peacock version of it is updated, to incorporate our modern technology. So there's like an AI element to it. But
they have these really cool contact lenses.
Yes, they have very cool, like.
Are there flying cars?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, are there? Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well, it's not. It doesn't feature much, but they're there. Yeah.
I only watch futuristic movies if they have flying cars.
Yeah. So the contact lens thing. So there's this like all-seeing, all-powerful AI called Indra, and everybody is connected through these contact lenses that have these sort of like tentacles that go into your eye, and you have the ability to see what other people are doing at any time, and also see what they're seeing at any time. So it's like everybody is Big Brother, or has the capability of being Big Brother, or whatever.
That sounds terrifying.
Well, well, that's kind of the point of the writer doing this, but yes, that's terrifying. And so the story, the problem in the story is predicated on a particular character realizing and experiencing something else other than this happiness that she's supposed to have. And then she has certain relationships, meets other people, has different relationships with them, and it leads to this whole like maybe things should be different. And there's a lot of characters who are shall we say affected by the sort of events that happen, and again, we're not going to spoil it for anybody, but the writer Grant Morrison has really, I would say, written a piece of art. I mean, it's 9 episodes, and there are rumors of a second season. I don't know where they're going to take it, but written kind of a piece of art that sort of shows the dystopianness of happiness, like of being too happy. Like, we want to be happy. We want to be shielded from. We want safe spaces. We want to be shielded from any kind of pain and anxiety. And I've been clicking my pen here because there's this dispenser that everybody carries around with them, and they take these pills anytime anything like is like anxiety producing or uncomfortable. They just pop a soma, and they're just like, oh, okay, now I'm back to like proper levels is what they call it.
Yeah.
So it's very well done. It is adult themed, so fair warning.
Watch out.
So fair warning on that, and there will be some surprisingly adult, some mature audiences. But yeah, Kerry, I don't know what else you want to convey about it. I mean, we were kind of talking about the Melbourne, what's his face, talking about how people are selfish, and it's like considered selfish in New London,
right?
You have a monogamous relationship, and by monogamous, this is like intercourse for 3 times in a row with just the same person. Like that was considered selfish. That was as opposed to sharing yourself with the community.
Right. Yeah. Ugh. Well, and they're conditioned, right? They're conditioned from, from birth. They're conditioned from birth. And like they have these phrases like everybody belongs to everybody. So you're not your own property. You don't have a right to yourself. You don't have a right to your own thoughts. You don't have, there's no time for privacy, and privacy is selfish. And exercising any sort of individual autonomy or individual choice is considered selfish and damaging to the community.
Dude, it's so
like during this whole COVID-19 thing.
Yes.
That's what people have been saying.
Yes.
Is that you and trying to assert your individual rights is selfish. You're going to kill grandma.
Yep. So yeah.
Well, and even in Brave New World, it isn't really about like asserting one's rights. It's just about feeling something different.
It's about
than everyone else. Gosh. It's not even that far.
But I mean, it's taking very, that hyperbole to its like fullest extent possible, and saying, it's absurd here. It's also absurd here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. And honestly, I kind of like, okay, I'm watching the first episode, and I'm like, whoa, like it's establishing the wildness of the situation. And I'm just like, how on earth do people who typically make these films are not going to be libertarian? How are these people producing this, not realizing they're creating a caricature of what we're dealing with today?
Wow.
And I'm just like, it's almost as if
accidental
maybe there's some subversion going on with the writer, and some of the people who are like, hey, we're making this, let's subvert some things and like make people realize that this is not the direction we want to go. Like, this is a warning in disguised as art, right?
Well, the trend in a lot of this sort of things these days is deconstruction, right? So we'd have to kind of think about it, but they may be inadvertently, or perhaps they're doing it quite intentionally, through some form of deconstruction. They're attacking some of these things in a subtle way.
Yeah. Well, there are definitely themes about, what would actually destroy the utopia, right? And those are things that are, things that we take for granted, for the idea that we own ourselves and that we're individuals and that we have choices, and that, I mean, it's so strange because the paradigm that they present with monogamy is that monogamy is a temptation. It's almost as, a sin. They don't have a religion, right? But that's how it's presented. And yet that's the thing that destroys it.
It's very cool too that we're seeing these sorts of things coming back into popular culture on some level, because we have seen in contrast, or I should say, in contrast, we haven't seen this stuff for some time because like the real types of dystopian stuff that's been coming out is less idea driven, and more technology driven. So, for instance, if we're Ready Player One is a dystopian novel, essentially, right? But it doesn't have this type of idea at the center of, like, even in Ready Player One with the kind of escapism in order to be happy. It's not really idea driven in the same way that something like a Brave New World or a 1984 is, or a variety of other. I mean, heck, even like actually a similar thing tonight to Brave New World is sort of going the opposite direction was Equilibrium, and I mean, it was like 2000 or 2002, which is a terrific movie, and it's PG-13, I think, but whatever. Anyway, it's a great movie, but goes in a slightly different direction. Instead of trying to push people toward feeling a particular way all the time, it says we're going to eliminate feeling altogether, and that's how we are going to control the society. And so those sorts of idea-driven dystopias are very interesting to me from an artistic point of view, and just from a playing with ideas point of view. And I'm glad to see that at least that's coming back in vogue.
Yeah. Hey, I do want to point out, because we've already mentioned that and even the original book, Brave New World, was pretty, it's for mature audiences. Still is. But the Peacock reimagination of it is definitely for mature audiences. But I want to point out that Sean Malone with Foundation for Economic Education did an Out of Frame episode on it that was published, I believe, this morning, or maybe it was yesterday. And it is completely
linked in the show notes below.
That it's completely clean, and it gets across all of these messages and things. So you can, if you want to take a look at that and not deal with the mature content, I highly recommend Sean Malone's Out of Frame episode on it, because it's really good.